All right, we're back. Shit. Okay, so excuse me. We had a bunch of false starts there. Anyway, welcome back. It's been a while. And it was also lagging really bad. I had to turn all the lights off in the scene. It's still pretty laggy. I'm torn between wanting to show off these assets and not having lag. Just because we have all these programs open and stuff. Also, I haven't optimized last, as they say. I'm sure I've said that a million times, y'all. Anyway, we're doing a simple effect today. As you see, the third hit with her sword. Have like a dust cloud, poof, radial coming out like that. We have these other dust effects too. But I mean specifically that one there. We're going to be doing that. It's super easy. I hope, videos will be more frequent. You have more clarity on what can work. I felt like I was just running out of ideas. But I was focusing a lot on just concepts. So, we're just going to do explicit effects if there's no necessarily a concept. And then some of them are like hard. And like the other thing, it's like, okay, it works for my game. And then it's like, okay, let's do a video about it. And then I want it to be like super perfect or like, fits all. I forget how you say, there's like a term for it where it like fits all your needs or is more like modular or universal. But we're just going to not care about that anymore just so we can get videos out. Sorry, I was away from the mic there. My nose and lungs are filled with cinnamon because I just ate cinnamon toast and I inhaled a bunch by accident. Anyway, let's get going. This is an effect that it basically mimics particles, so you can just do that if you like. We talk a lot about in these videos how I don't want to poo-poo particles. They're amazing, but it can just be so much simpler. I get so just tight in the chest when I'm working with particles because there's just so much stuff you have to like work with, and I get really anxious. So that's another reason. And they're just super quick. Like once you get them, so boom, right there. Let's freeze frame it for a sec. Pop. Oh right. Gotta remember to turn all those lights on. It's gonna be kind of dark. I guess I could turn the. Anyway, that's not a very good shot. Anyway, let's get to it. It looks cool, I think. Decide for yourself if it is. No viewers, that's okay. Hopefully we're streaming. Sweet. Real quick, is it live? Yes. Okay. So the first step is to create the mesh. It's actually, like I talked about in one of my very first videos. That's probably the most popular video. It's excuse me. We use the mesh to you create the shape and the motion. And that might seem obvious, but we're gonna go through that again. So this is actually what the mesh looks like. So we have this. It's similar to what we've done before. With like slash effects and things. But we're coming out from the center instead. Let's bring it up right here. I've actually done basically the exact same effect and then just stacked it a bit to give it some thickness, and we'll go over that. So let's clear one out and go to the animation. And then as we animate it out, we'll just run it a few times. That's the effect. Excuse me, sorry. Seriously, it's like so much cinnamon. So yeah, and you can't really even see that one's kind of flattened, but it gives in the, there it looks pretty flat, and it is a flat effect, but we get a little bit of depth by having that curve there, and the other one on top of it makes it more 3D like that. Oop, it animated that, I think, which is really annoying. Did it? No, it didn't. Okay, good. Sometimes like you do that. Like if you turn things on and off, it'll like animate that when things are red. It means the animator's recording. Hey viewer, Again, like I try to do chat interaction, and they're like, get another screen, and I'm like, I hate 2 screens. I'm like the only person. But the other thing is that these are for YouTube. Not that I mean, I like interacting. So catching it live, it's cool for you. That's cool for me. But this is a way to record to YouTube, and but I will try. It's not that I'm not trying, but also I'm just learning. Let's put it that way. Instead of making an excuse to just say, hey, I'm still learning. This is a different excuse, but a better one maybe. So anyway, back to it. This is the effect. Just go kind of slow through there. You can see we're going straight out, if you can believe me. But you can see there's sort of like a turn happening, like right in the middle there. And then they, you know, fade out like that. You know, there's a bit of like a spiral motion. And that's just the beauty of like, you know, having an understanding of how you can use scaling, even like simple scaling, to your advantage. So here's the texture. It's real simple. This is what we're using. You can see there's like an angle here. And that's what's giving us some cool motion. And we've talked about this before, but let's say we have like an effect and we're going to do like just like a sort of slashing effect or something. And so it's like, okay, let me get my tablet. We have, you know, like a motion like this or whatever. You know, make like a crescent moon for like a slash effect. And then we scale it around and like fade it out or do whatever we need, you know. But if you instead sort of give like an angle to it, and this is going to depend on your needs. When you scale it, you change the character a lot. And that's sort of like the basis of using mesh-based stuff anyway, like to create motion and whatnot. So anyway, that's what's going on, and that's, you know, we'll go through it here. It's just something to keep in mind. So instead of doing just like a plain like dust cloud or something, you know, we're actually doing a lot. And I did this a lot in Aces Wild because I was using just like basic particles. So I'm actually really proud of like this dust effect when you dash in that game, because it's just a single particle, but its character changes a lot as you scale it. It's just something you got to experiment with. Like it's not something you bust out, but it is something that's easy with refinement. You know what I'm trying to say there? So anyway, I'm kind of bouncing all over. I'm going to get back into it. We're just haven't streamed in a while. So we have this star mesh. One thing to note that I'll mention right away is part of what helps create the motion. You can do this with scaling of the UVs. But all we're doing is sliding the UVs. We're just pushing them out. But you can see it's like scaling out. Like it's stretched out here. And then as it fades out, it gets scrunched up. And you can do that. You can just do a simple scaling with the UVs. You know, we've done it before in effects. Plenty of videos we do that. But I wanted a way to just make it simpler. Sometimes dealing with that can be a pain. There's other weird things of just like, I don't know. There can be little hiccups. And so instead, we just use the mesh. So what I'm getting at eventually is here. So we look at our mesh here. And you can see it's kind of, there's a lot of, let's do this. There we go. There's a lot of, so let's look at this. You have this one, and then we go out, and there's this one, and we go out, and there's this one. And as I do that, you know, pay attention to the right, pay attention to the UVs over here. You can see, if it's not obvious, that, you know, these two here are super long, and then this one's also super long, but here it's not. So here, this one's long, and over here it's short. So that's what's, you know, we're distorting it. We're creating that scale just in the mesh to create that. So that way we can just scroll the UV. Again, you can do it. You can scale UVs easily, you know, with just default shaders. But, you know, part of the video just to show you different methods of doing it, and it was just faster. Like it was just easier for me, so I just did it that way. So let's create this mesh. And actually, I'm going to show a new way of doing it. So let's create a cylinder instead. Let's drag it up. Oh shoot, I should go through the commands. So Shift S, selection to center. Center is always the real center of Blender, unfortunately. So if you're like over here working on this mesh, you can do Shift S, cursor to center, and it's like, well, no. So you have to hit Tab, Shift S, cursor to, you can do selective or you can do active. Sometimes active is like more accurate. I don't know the right word. Let's go back in there. Anyway, we just want to center our cursor, do Shift A, because that's where it's going to add. And as you get better at Blender, you'll find, well, you'll come to understand why it's useful to use the 3D cursor as your reference instead of just median point. Anyway, scroll it up. I have weird blending going on. Let's see. So now we have a cylinder. And let's go ahead just right away. I'm going to go bippity bop, delete faces, right click X, delete faces. Check the chat. 2 viewers, welcome. Right click that, edge, V to rip. You can also just do, just mark a seam. Let's actually do it on the quote unquote back. So we'll do Control 1. Control 1 on the numpad. Refocus there. We can V to rip it, or you can just mark a seam. Let's do L for link select, U to unwrap, bippity bop. It's like already unwrapped. Like the other ways I used to do it is like so silly. I don't know why I didn't do it this way ever. Oh, it's already constrained. Good. So we can go grab, boop. Many commands, that you do over here, work over here. So we alt right click and that'll give us we'll select that whole loop there. And so it's not quite a circle yet. So we want to do this, scale, 0, boom. And you notice this is kind of curved. You could do it with the sphere. I actually didn't. I just shaped it that way. So it's up to you. Sorry, I've said and like my whole life, and I'll never change. Just real quick, Shift add cylinder. We did 32 verts. It's going to depend on what you need. This might not even need that many verts. The problem will arise is when you get kind of this distortion here, you'll get some bending, like some distortion. But honestly, there's some artifacting that happens with these effects. Like right here, you get this sharp edge. I actually like it. As long as you like it or you have at least a little bit of intentionality, then it's cool. But if you just let artifacts fly everywhere and you just kind of, I don't know. There's a time and place for artifacts, I guess. I don't know. It's up to you as the artist, but you can do it wrong, I guess, as I should say. So let's look at both of them here, just to compare. So let's actually, I meant to do this on a new one. So I'm going to do Shift D, do oblong ring, tutorial. So I have the old one here. And I'm going to hide it. No, I'm not, because I'm going to go into it first. I'm going to hide our new one. And delete that. I meant to copy it first. Sorry, y'all. Hide it. Go to our new one. Save. I'm just going to make sure everything's square. Update, please. Boop. Sorry, I'm out of breath. A little nervous. Just talking a lot. I know it's a weird kind of nervous. Just like ain't like. I don't mind streaming, especially like once he gets going, it's like, it's cool, it's easy. So we need to, chop this up. So we'll get that a little bit out of the way there. Actually, we could just hide it for now. So let's make sure this is working okay, first of all. So we have our new one. Just gonna go ahead and copy this one and then unparent it. Drag it over here. Actually, I'm going to drag the old one over because my camera's already centered on it in the game view. Oh, I thought it was facing the other way. I'm so confused. It's actually like this. Not that it matters, but this is the old one. Then the new one, bring it on here so I can, please. Just so they're organized so I can understand it better. And it's all pivoted and has, I'm actually going to remove the animator. Okay, so we have our mesh. Just gonna call it mesh. Click there, long ring, tutorial. So now we just have a plain one here, and we can look, you know, as we go along, we can see how it works to, you know, as we add our verts and do different changes to it, how it all works out. Excuse me. Oh, we need a new material. Poof to it. Bam. So you also notice, like, by default I have it at 2, but in the actual whoops, I gotta assign it. We'll drag that up to our new one. Boop. Click on that. I have like 5 or so. And you know, you could add more if you like. You can see how there's like lots of artifacting. Basically all we do. Are they both on there? I'm a little confused. What's going on? There's like 2 meshes. What did I do? Oh, it's hidden. I tricked myself. Delete those. Sorry. Goodbye. You live on in your past over here. So anyway, the idea is just to be able to, you know, scroll this one thing. So already, you know, that's kind of cool already. Because of the nature of our texture, you can see that, you know, how it kind of spins a little as we go in and out. I'll show you. This is the other way you could have done it, where you just scale it. You just use the scaling like this, like boop. And honestly, maybe I was wrong. Like, maybe I could just do that. There was just something about it when I was doing it that just made more sense to do it that way. You know, maybe we'll change our minds and we'll actually just do this. But we'll see. Let's shape this out more. So the first thing you can do, you know, Control R, just split it up a bit here. That's going to do a loop cut. You can mouse up, or you can, you know, type a number. Just try 3. Control S, check that out. Update, please. You can see it cleaned up a whole bunch already. Let's just try 1. Sometimes you can be surprised that, you know, so there's like a little bit, but already, like here, it's maybe there's like maybe too many artifacts for you. Already, that's pretty tight. I think there was just like some, when I was doing the shape, like I'm starting to see now like the things that I didn't like. And that's why I did it. It's hard to explain, but if we like look at the other one, where are you at, my friend? You can see the characters like a little bit different. We can see this like sort of cartoony cloud look where it's like puffy on the outside and then like sharp on the inside. It's showing up a lot better than it did on this. And now I'm like, sorry, it's been a while since I made this effect. And that's one of the reasons I did it. I thought it just took it to that next level. You know what I mean? You can see, that's why I wanted the other one on here, actually. I know I just deleted it, but let's bring it back. You only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 cuts. But I wanted to be able to compare the UVs. That's why I wanted to keep it on there. Anyway, it's going to be up to you. You know, what works for you. I mean, honestly, at this point, the video's done. Like, the concept is explained, rather. So we'll just go through all the steps of making it work. Let's go to our actual. As you can see there, we're just like sliding it out. And if you like, I actually wanted to show this too. I didn't do that. This would be an alternative. We can do I have a thin gradient? I thought I did. Mask? Let's see. Oh, we'll just have to make our own. Please remind me about the masks. But basically, we could just fade it out here, and that way you could just slide it out, and just another option for you. So we have dilly-dallied a bit, so let's get to it. So we just copy this. That has 5 cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Control R, 5. Left click, right click. There we are. So how did I shape it? Well, I did it real easily. Grabbing this, we can actually do it this way. Alt O will give us proportional editing. So that way, things that are linked, you can do connected or just like everything is like proportional. So basically, it's like when you move a vert, it takes its neighbors and moves it an amount based on its distance from it. I think it's just plain O. We'll change it. Alt O takes you right to connected. That's a lot of times what you want, but sometimes you may have disconnected meshes and you kind of want to smush things around like different ways. I had linear here, but you can just do sphere. Actually, I might need the inverse. Yes. So if we did it from the middle and did sphere, you can do that. And then you can mouse wheel in and out to change it. You may find it's not quite looking right, so you may need to go like a step up. Lower that. And even that, it's like I'm not loving it. But, it's just something you have to refine. But we can do the opposite too. You find that easier. Do sharp. And you slide it up and gives you sort of the same effect. And I think that's similar to what I had done. But then from there, you can shape it out more or less. So let's hide, quote unquote, you instead of H hide. Save it. Have our mesh there. We can check the motion now. And if you want it like more, oh, this one's all flattened out. I forgot. Make it all even. Let's scale it up. So already that looks pretty sweet. Much better. This angle, but you can see it like starting to go up more like that. That's pretty badass. So what's the next step? It's pretty distorted still. I don't know how I fixed it so well in that other one. I think I just had extra loops down in here and stuff anyway. So you can see here ours is real even. So if we wanted to match it up, we could just straight up, copy it. Let me think for a sec. Is this on the new one? Yeah. I guess we haven't created the texture yet, so let's do that. We'll make our own. Favorite thing to do, just go to the old one, Control D, duplicate it in Unity. That way it's like already in your Unity project. You can just give it a name right here. Tutorial text. Go ahead and close our old one. So I could have done this more efficiently. Layer, delete, hidden layers. So as usual, I had a gradient overlay just to sort of darken it here, but we'll go through the steps. Main thing is the inner glow, of course. We use that all the time with black, at least for the shader that we use. Remember that you can use outer glow, but it adds opacity. I say this a million times, but it makes a difference. It's going to give you more of an outliney look depending on how you do it. It's sort of by default, I guess. Inner glow takes the opacity that you actually have here, and then it'll go from the edge or the center, however you set it, and it will, you know, go black to white or just black fade, however, you know, based on opacity. Let's see here. Let me look. So let's go ahead and assign that. Let's save it. It's nothing there really. Actually, this is us, right? No more mistakes. We'll put our new one there. Hey, it's gone. So, and I actually had started with this effect, doing a different effect. You can see I have this dust right here. I had wanted sort of like a circular, you know, sort of like a vertical circular rather than like a flat circular, you know, like a cylinder effect. You can see it when we do things like, please, like that. Know what I'm saying? It's not the best one. Some of those though, basically it. And then it just looked good already. And so I just refined it a bit. But anyway, the main thing, so let's get to that texture shape we've been talking about. Control A, delete. You're going to turn off the gradient, and then we'll explain like why we use it and stuff. We don't necessarily need a soft brush right away. Sometimes it's nice to just create your shape, like what you might want, just in general. It depends on how you want to work. Like you may want to just go like this right away. With dust, it's like I really recommend just starting soft though. I thought it was on 50% still. It's like, what's happening? Really, it's not too complicated. Because it's in motion, you know, it's not hanging out too long. It's going to be faded out. It doesn't have to look perfect. You know, that looks really cloudy. But it's already pretty cool. You can see here how, you know, maybe that isn't great. We want to match that motion. So let's instead get a little more artistic. So we know we kind of wanted like, so what I mentioned before was like that classic look of like, you know, there's like a puff here, you know, cartoony, and then there's like a, you know, like some sharp things coming out like that. Gives you, oh, they're upside down. So it's actually, it depends how you like to work. And I knew that was going to happen. I just forgot to set it up in here to test it. So we're going to select everything over here, scale, Y, -1. Proportional editing still on, didn't matter too much though. Give us a flip, please. There you go. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like the trailing, that's really ugly, but you know what I mean. That's the basic look, and that's what we're gonna go for with this effect. So that's, you know, it's important to have just strong, clear shapes. You know, when people ask for advice, it's one that I give a lot. You know, they worry about accuracy or whatnot. Just having appealing shapes is important. And that's another reason why we use these mesh-based approaches. Is it's so easy to just control the look and the style, like the shape of it, of our effects. So it's much more artistic. I hate to say it that way, but it is. It's much more creative. This isn't gonna look great yet. So we, you know, that's why we like it. Yeah, that's cool. You can see that's kind of cartoony, but like you can understand like where we're coming from. And then from here, you know, you can just start to shape it out a bit more. Let's go real low. Let's actually do like 20. Start to blend into that. And even though this is like really light in Unity, our shader like really can amp things up. And it's also a bit deceiving. I think the way, I meant Photoshop, or in Unity it will be. But anyway, when we're working in Photoshop, it can be a little deceiving. Like things can appear really light when you don't have a background color. You know, really opaque rather, not light. Or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of hideous. So again, it's one of those things where it takes a bit. It's not hard, but it really takes a lot of refinement. You know, I mentioned how it's going to be in motion. It doesn't matter too much. Just have a good shape. That's true. But we really do want... This is a time where I actually recommend the smudge tools when we're making these particle effects. I always say to just try and blend naturally. Like if you're... Not that I don't use the smudge tool. I'm not some sort of like hypocrite here. But I like to say when you're blending, like when you're doing like regular painting, to not use the smudge tool. And really it has a mechanical look. But with these effects, you can get away with it more. So already, I don't know, doesn't look much better, but we'll get to it. These are looking really thin. And so, you know, don't get frustrated. I do, but don't do it. You just got to say, it's like, okay, that looks really thin. So let's just, it's not, you're using a weird mesh. There's tons of distortion. So you can't only work just from here. You know, you gotta keep checking. It's looking a little bit better. Maybe we don't like the outside here. Maybe we don't like any of that sort of. But you can see, you know, why I added this sort of gradient as well, because it gives it a lot more character. And then I actually faded it out quite a bit, you know, based on that. See, there's way more character there. That looks awesome. Like, it's still really cartoony. We're gonna shape that up. But you may also like to, you know, just do one of these. So that way it's like light in the middle. It'll give it sort of a lighting look. And already that looks pretty BA. When you have hard edges like that, for this particular type of effect, you kind of want to avoid it. You know, with some of our effects, we use like harder edges. Let's see if I have one I can think of. We do like these ones where you do like the distortion, the like the alpha cutoff stuff. Sorry, it might come out of frame, but we can see like these fire rings sort of like fading out. You'll want to use hard edges there. But like the hard edges with like things like that, it's not quite cutting it. Alternatively, I had meant to do this initially. Let's actually duplicate the layer just in case. But there's just a time and place for hard and soft edges, and just experiment. Just know it's like, oh, that looks so cartoony. So, and actually, just real quick, I know I'm going back and forth. Let's hit this with a filter, blur, Gaussian blur, Gaussian, I don't know. And we're just blurring it out. Save, we can check that. You know, it looks a little bit better. It's still just kind of weak. You know, I keep repeating this, but it just takes refinement, unfortunately. Like, you'll get that, you know, first shape, and then just put in the extra work to just, you know, look at the things that are wrong with it, and then refine it from there. These are actually blood splatters. Let's find the clouds. These aren't quote-unquote cloud brushes, although you can use them as such. They're just clouds. So stop, please. That one's, I don't know, let's look at it. Yeah, looks like paint. Do I have any good ones for this? Stop, please. Like that. That's not quite the look, but what we're gonna do is find one that's pretty close, and then we'll refine that instead. They all seem to have really hard edges for some reason. This one's looking better. I think this one has randomized some randomness on it. that. That's a little closer. But because we're repeating it so much, you know, we kind of want like bigger, fatter sort of looks. This isn't going very hot. I do recommend these kinds of brushes. They're just not working with me today. You know, you can look up, you know, cloud brushes online, or you can just find photos of clouds and turn them into brushes. I won't go through that here. It's just, what are you doing to me? That was weird. It was like going the opposite direction. Oh, I have a strength at 100. I don't remember clicking that. That's why. Get out of here. You can see you can actually sort of erase and smudge things out with it. So what I didn't like was that it was a little too, like, wasn't fat enough. Some big fat effects. Hit that. Imagine that one's going to look a little bit better. It's still pretty cartoony, but already that one's cool. And again, you know, I hit it at an angle, like this one's lower, this one's in the middle, this one's up higher. That's going to give us a little bit more motion that you may or may not want. I wanted it. And so, you know, as we go, why are you being whack? I'm a little confused why it's scaling the way it is. Is it because we turned it the other way? Yeah, that's part of the problem. Okay, that's another reason. So if you needed to, so we're going to go scale y -1. So these are going to be flipped. But that was why, because it was, you know, to make them flat like this, you need the tiling up high. But it's also pushing it either up or down. You know, it's always going to be pushing it whatever the zeros are, which is, you know, up in this case. Not the zeros. I said that really wrong. Just ignore that. But basically, as you scale it, it's like it's being pushed. Because we're actually tiling it. If we go here, you can see it's actually repeating it. It's tiling it. And when we flipped the UVs, you know, it made the tiling start a different direction. And so we'll actually leave it at this, and then we'll just flip the way we're working in Photoshop. That's how you get around it. But what we've done, so if you do this yourself, I forgot to mention, in here, and our shader actually handles it too. Because actually, if you look here, it says repeat, but it's not. It's clamped. This is actually, if we did clamp, we would get rid of our other tiling. So, and if you're new, these are available. There's going to be a link. Oh, that's not part of the normal undo stuff. Sorry. You know, it's available on my website. You can, and the link will be in the video here. Let's see. Are you multi-streaming? I don't know what that is. Finally caught a stream. Same stoked. Hey, thanks, y'all. If you have questions, let me know. It's a little bit more haphazard than I thought. I wanted to pick a simple effect. This is my first video after a couple months, but we're kind of messing up, but it's okay. Transform, flip vertical, save. So now it's back to like how it was. So now we can do that. Just do that and fade it out. And you may want, you know, a little bit of an offset. My purpose, my goal with the way I had it set up was to only have to worry about this one value. Like I mentioned, one of the reasons I hate working with particles, at least in Unity, and I'm not trying to poo-poo Unity's particle system in any way, because it's great. But I personally I get so anxious when I'm working with them. I'm just tweaking little things over and over again, and I get, and there's like a million possibilities, and I'm just like, ugh. I get so anxious, it's like really tight in my chest, and I have to stand up and leave. So anyway, we can do that. So you can see, you know, we're not necessarily animating it. We could just go straight to the animation if we wanted. But let's see, you know, what are some of our problems? Let's say, you know, right here where it's stretched, you know, I want a little more character, like in the spiky parts. And as we fade out, there's way too much of a gap. Like, I don't want that. So let's push it out. I'm just adding a little bit of character here and there. Go ahead and save that. Please update, I beg you. That's looking a little whack. I'll just go ahead and have the original one I made. Here it's looking cool though. Like right there, like we got some real cool character. And then you can see how much the character changes. Like these effects are so cool. It's so easy. And that's our goal, right? Like it seems like a whole new particle. You know what I mean? Like, at least in my opinion. You can see we're getting, it's hard to tell, you might not even show up. It's because we actually hit the edge a bit. And I knew it was going to happen, but I just was being lazy. So we need to delete everything along the edges here. Even though it's set to clamp, like I don't know. Game design, you can see those kind of artifacts even in AAA games. Like, it's like we don't have an answer yet. Especially if it's running like on remakes, that happens a lot. Because I think you know I can't speak on specifics, but over the years that was bugging me. I don't have any lights on. I had to turn on. If you're just joining in, I had to turn off all the lights because it was lagging. Because I have all these programs and stuff open. So where were we? Oh yeah, we're refining that. We might, let's see, get to the actual animation. That's why I was lost. I was like, where's my stuff? So that's already awesome in my opinion. Like and that happens a lot with just the scaling, but that's super sick. So let's see, like we're going through it and it's like maybe right here, it's not looking quite right. So let's refine that a bit. What don't we like? I don't like how thin it is quite right here. These shapes are a little whack. It doesn't look very cloud-like. We're gonna cheat a little and look at our other one. Like if you look here, it's kind of whack. Like it's got weird shapes, but that's why it's effective. So let's look at our peers. Please copy when you can. Don't full on copy. Like try not to copy. Like everyone's gonna do it. Like especially people making fighting games or other sort of like action games like that, they'll just straight up copy stuff from beat 'em ups and other fighting games. And you should do it, but you should do your best to like find your own character. I'm in my heart I talk a little shit for people who do that like really cartoony sort of dust cloud effect from like Wind Waker, like from the bombs, because it looks exquisite. Like I get it. And as I go along just in my life, I'm like, you know what, they should again, you should find your own character in it, find your own style in it, and express that in the work. But it's just copy, just do it. So let's look at one that's successful here. You learn by copying. That's how we learn. Like, I heard something. I mean, I knew this already, but I heard something recently about. So I'm kind of giving some more shape here, pushing this around. About cultures like that are still really, I don't know how to say it, but just. Please excuse the word I'm going to use here, but primitive. Just really. Untouched by like modern advances and things. And, kids aren't necessarily taught. They just watch their parents like building houses and planting, and they just do that. They do it for fun. And then all of a sudden they're like living in their house that they made just for fun. And you know what I mean? Already that's kind of cool. But anyway, just copy. That's how you learn. It's okay. I'm actually going to refresh the chat. If you aren't saying anything, that's cool too, but just in case, the chat doesn't seem to update very well for me. But it's still a little boring. I'm actually going to cheat super hard and check it against our old one. See, look how sick that is. That's so badass. Sorry, I'm like a little full of myself, but you should be. You should love your work. So one thing we like about that is that there's a lot of like texture, vertical sort of, texture going through it. So let's make some of that. We'll start with a little bit of erasing, maybe at like 30%. Just cut right through it. That's a little harsh. The shape dynamics on there, it's still a little harsh. Let's start at 10. You can see where this takes us. And you can see that looks a little gross, but then we'll refine that. We're just starting to get some character in there. Something like that. So that's pretty disgusting. I hate it. Let's just do the smudging instead. So real strong. Yeah, already that's hot. It's important to get a lot of different sizes. When the size is bigger, let's bring down the strength. If you don't know, non-number pad, well, maybe it works on the number pad too, but in Photoshop, you can change the opacity by just doing like 1, 0 is 100. You can also get more specific by doing, quickly. It doesn't have to be that quick, like 1, 2, gives us 12 opacity. It's just a huge time save. It's as you go on, like these things just take time. Just the only thing I could like really recommend in that regard is do it. Like if there's a macro or if there's something that you're doing a lot, it's like I wish there's a macro for this, shortcut, do it. Like anything that you repeat, try and find a shortcut for it or make one. So already that's way cooler. Look at that badass stuff, dudes. Like, are you kidding me? So it just takes time, you just look at what's wrong with it. Do you make those textures for environment? Yeah, everything in there I made except for the font. I say that a lot. It's like tongue in cheek, but yeah, I do everything besides the music. And I did have a video. My last video was actually, sorry, we're getting off track here. I was doing something similar to this, and actually, I wish I always do this. Like I'll stream, and then I get tired. And it's like maybe I'll be back, but then I start to say. Lately, I've been saying I probably won't be back. But then I always go back to the thing I was working on. Anyway, I would like to just show something. Maybe I'll do it at the end. I don't know. Someone asked. I'm going to do it. This is my world. Oh, I forgot the name of it now. Sorry. Intermission. But the one I was doing for the tutorial ended up being like crazy badass. Like I hated it at first. So I'll just show it here rather than in the game. So check out that tutorial if you want to do something like this. Again, I was like hating it at first, and then it ended up being like crazy cool. This is what I'll come for, right? Like crazy intermissions. Anyway, check out that video if you want to do some cool stuff like that, because I think it turned out so badass. Anyway, back to it. I do have plans to do like I had this older video about like a methodology for doing environments. God, that's looking good. Damn. The clouds, I mean. Methodology for making environments. But just get more specific. I had mentioned in the video I'd want to get more specific. But I was also struggling myself. I've basically started over. I never really had any great... I've been working on this game a long time. It's embarrassing. I shouldn't say embarrassing, but it's just frustrating me. But I finally have a way that I want to do it that it's going to work. The environments are much easier to make. I just have a better understanding of it all. So, this is starting to look badass. We made some zigzag shapes. That gives it a lot of energy. Let's check it out in motion. Let's see. Unity shortcuts are amazing. Yeah, there's a lot I don't know. There's one that I found out recently is like Control-Shift-F. Is that the one? Let's do it real quick. It centers an object. You can do like just Control-F. Damn it, I'm forgetting now. If But basically it refocuses. Like Control Shift F for sure. Like you click on your camera object and then hit Control Shift F, and then it'll be what it is in the scene. It's a really nice one. The only ones I really know for Unity are like Control Drag for like snaps, editing, and then like oh my god. What is it? I just had it. It was on the tip of my tongue. Anyway. Oh, like V click to like vertex snap. That one's really important. Those two I think are most important. But you'll just learn them as you go. I know a million in Blender now. It's a great program. Let's see here. Wow, didn't even make the font unfollowed. Yeah, I know. Fraud detected. They are amazing. Everything is looking good. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's youtube.com. Oh my god, what is it? Kicks42, I think. I'd like to rebrand everything to Culture Attack. But they're all on there. Yeah. Whoop. And if you ever just need to contact me, I'm at Culture Attack on Twitter. And you can contact me there. I love helping people. Like I do it a lot. It's been a bit since I've done like a one-on-one, but I really do like doing it. That's what these videos are for. Helping people out. And thank you. Those really kind words. I appreciate it. It's been a lot. I mean, I've worked on environment stuff a lot, and I've just recently found a method that's also fast. It's a little more mechanical. You can see I'm the secret, quote unquote, is just to use blending layers a lot and use more real world textures, blended into it. Anyway, let's get back to I do appreciate the commentary though, and thank you. It means a lot to hear that. I also think it looks good. So it's still a little cartoony. Our shape is much more BA. Like we love that, I think. What were we doing? Oh yeah, we wanted to check the motion just to be sure. Back to game view. You can also see, all right, we were doing the scaling. So you can see there, maybe we don't like that as much. Maybe the top got a little too shredded. Like right here, that shot's nice. But, we might not like that. We may want it a bit softer up in there. So let's actually, and if you like it, like you keep it, it's your game, you do what you want. Whoops, I meant smudge. And I'm starting not totally outside, not totally inside, but like right here on the edge where it's already a little opaque. That way I'm like spreading like a partial, because I'm using the smudge tool, like a partial sort of opacity, and that's gonna like spread that out. Because if I went like this, then it's gonna give us like no opacity. Do you know what I mean? It's obvious like when you're doing it, but just a thing to note there. That way I'm spreading the softness rather than like creating shapes. Save that. So yeah, it's much softer there. Let's double check our motion. It's like pulling through. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Here, it's less cool. I'm actually gonna save that and undo everything. We're about right here. Yeah, it's probably where we started. I'm gonna duplicate that layer. Okay, delete. Paste it in there. Control E. So now we have our old one and our new one. Let's look at our old one again, because I liked. That isn't quite our old one. It's close, but didn't quite get there. Some parts I liked, and then the new one, it's just a little too soft up in there. Kind of looks like broccoli. I don't like that. So I went a little too hard. So let's harden some of those edges. There's smudge tool. This is kind of weird, this coming in. I had a similar shape on the our original effect, but it's not working as well on this one. So again, I didn't finish my thought on like creating like strong shapes, dramatic shapes. And so, it's like maybe this needs more like, you know, movement throughout, you know, this direction up and down. And so that's what we're doing. So it's looking maybe even a lot better. At first I was like, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's pretty cool. So let's hit that gradient overlay. I'm actually liking it a little bit better. Like this. Excuse me. And then we can mess with the scale a bit if we want to, like, save that. And then that's looking really dramatic and cool in my opinion. There's a little bit of lack of texture in there. That's just like even at more refinement. You know, if we have this one here, you know, I don't even know if I started. It was just a lot of refinement. I was gonna say I don't know if I even started with a, like a cloud texture. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. A cloud brush, I mean. But I mean, even that's sharp, in my opinion. One of the ways it's maybe a little bit different, and it's going to depend on the effect that you like, that angular motion isn't carried throughout, so I went ahead and duplicated that layer. Angular motion, what do I mean? Right here, you know, we mentioned before that if things are sort of square to the quad, basically, they're only going to scale like this. But if we, you know, get a little funky and do this, like when things scale, like, you know, like right here, it's still like kind of pointy, but when we get right here, it's kind of like leaning. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, it can seem like a restriction at times, but it's actually a benefit. You can leverage it, rather. Let's say that's a better word, even though it's kind of like corporate speak. So let's try like giving it a bit of a lean just by itself. And as we animate it, yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, shit. And you can see like how the spikes pull apart, like they're like so close together here, and then they pull apart there. You know, that's stuff you could do with distortion maps and just like some complex particles, or even like frame by framing and like alpha cutoffs. But instead we have one texture that we just slide across a mesh, and it's just so awesome. Here I do wish it went out a little bit more. I wish they touched a little. Everything's looking good. Sweet, thanks. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Push it out to give us some, and then shape it out. Push it out, shape it out. It's starting to look a little uniform, which we don't like. I don't like, at least. So now, again, see, it just looks a little repetitive. So we're going to take a different approach for that. Undo. Yeah. So let's, I mean, one option. You could just scale it out. Honestly, it's probably the best bet. Yeah, let's just do that. The character changed a little bit right there, but I don't know. Kind of liking that. I do wish that they were closer together. Just have to think about that a bit. Let's just get to animating, I think. I think this is strong already. So let's go ahead. What do I usually do? Let's see. Dust effect. I have this layer. Excuse me. I have this object. It's the main object, has the name. When it instantiates, it's going to do it based on the object generally. You know, this is something they just set up. This is more engine, game specific. But then to make your life easier, it's like you'll have this and it'll say, you know, like, you know, at the foot of so-and-so or wherever, you know, maybe along the, you know, when there's like an impact like against the ground, it'll instantiate, you know, on the character or on the ground or at their feet. You know, those are just things you have to define yourself. But let's say we make it and like it needs to be a little bit higher. So I always have like a pivot here. So that way we can raise and lower it, you know, no matter where it's hitting. Already that looks cool. Oh yeah, masks. I'm supposed to not. We're going to get to that, hopefully. It's just another little touch you can add. Oh, my ear itches. You don't want your hair in my ear. Not like there's hair growing out of it, but there is. But. Where were we? Oh yeah, create an offset. And then you might even have like an extra parent if you need. Where did I have one here? So I hit it here. So it was above the pivot where the animation is. So really it would be like, maybe even create another one. And I call it an offset. Have offset and pivot. They're all kind of like the same name. Basically the same meaning, but different names just to differentiate. And so that way, so we put the animation here. Go ahead and in the animator, just hit create. That's going to create an animator controller. This is like a real big not downfall, but maybe they can improve in Unity. It's just all the stuff you need just to even create one animation. Actually, it's under my assets, VFX, tutorial, poof. Hopefully that's, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like it's a poof test. So now we have our animation here. That way you can, because if you animate these offsets in your animation, then that won't work when you instantiate it because it's going to set it to a specific thing. So this way you can, you know, animate this and then have the offset that you can control after you've created your animation to, you know, offset it if it needs a rotation or whatnot. Just that's pretty static. Because you can also, you know, maybe do a dynamic instantiation, and so that the main object will just instantiate however you want it. It's helpful, just trust me. So let's get going. Go ahead and start animating. Just move that around. There's lots of ways to get started. This record button hit. It's good to set it in your start position before you start animating. So let's go ahead. And we're going to do it actually, you know, not how I had done it, but we'll just do it with just the scaling and see how that looks. So as soon as the impact hits, you generally don't want to fade it in like that. You know, I talk about this a lot, but like even like Soul Calibur, I personally think that like Namco, Bandai Namco now I suppose, they just have such good visual artists. Their effects are amazing. And you know, it's not even them. I just think of them as an example because like on their sword effects, you know, you have the weapon trails, like there's a big slash, you can see my hand, you know, slashing around, and it may have come all the way here, and then all of a sudden the whole thing just pops in. That's something you should realize, like just having it pop in real quick and then fade out is just much more dramatic. It feels much better. Especially when things in games happen on these like certain spots. It's like, you know, the dust or the, you know, something gets hit. You don't have time to fade something in necessarily. Modern games actually, like stuff like that happens in slow motion. Like let's say it happens in normal motion, it just pops in. But what's cool about modern games is that actually you can like fade in from 0 to instant pop. So even though it's like in slow motion, it'll actually, but just general rule of thumb when you're animating, let's go ahead and do it there. So that looks pretty good. I might do it like a little bit more in there, and then we'll start animating it. So just go like that. Everything turned red because it's starting to animate. And then you can either go to 1 or 30, sort of however you like to work. I like to keep it shorter generally. You can always just speed up the animation. And I almost always end up doubling or tripling the speed of my animation. for in-game, because again, like, games are fast, you know, especially character action games. So. And then just right out here, you know, we want it to fade out here. Another thing is, like, I sort of control the pacing with my original setup with this, like, more complicated mesh. And I hate to jump around like I've been doing so much, but all I really did, like, if we compare it to this one, is, like, you know, we took this ring and they're actually flipped, you know, and then you can just, excuse me, I hit the wrong button. You just drag those. You know what I mean? You don't even have to worry about your mesh. We're just, you know, the reason why the spacing is different, like on this one. That's all I did, is I just drug those UVs around. So that way it's fast here, you know, because we hit more UVs more quickly. So it means we're going through this faster. And then it's slower out here. Because that's generally the motion you want, you know. Fast in, slow out. That's good rule of thumb for, like, visual effects for such, like, games and stuff. So, you know, and what I'm getting at is that one reason I set that up is so I wouldn't have to worry about that too much in the actual animation, even though that's not that much of a hassle to animate. But we can even just go ahead and see what this looks like. So it's looking okay. It's not quite the same as our other one, and again, like, you're going to be going back and forth. You're going to be refining your animation. You're going to be refining your texture. Oh, I got caught up. I'm stuck. There we go. And, you know, just you go back and forth. They inform each other, as they say. And already this is giving us kind of a fast in, slow out. Part of that is because of how the tiling works. As you tile, because we're not sliding the UVs, we're not doing this. We're going to do that. We're going to do a different example here after we do this one. When you go from 1 to 2 or 0.5 to 1, you've doubled it. When you go to 2 to 3, you've only increased it by 50%. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though it's a linear increase, the scale value, because we're stacking these on top of each other, like, we're tiling it. We're using a tiling approach because that's just a real basic foundational thing for just shaders, so it's readily available and it's easy to do. You know, it's just a core foundational part of shaders, but that can actually do a lot. You know, we're tiling it up, and so the nature of it means that each time we go up, you know, by 1, you know, we put it just as we go up, it has a fall off, because, you know, when we get from 5 to 6, that's only a, you know, 20% increase. I hope my math is right. Do you know what I mean? You know, 1 to 2 is big. It goes boom, boom. We covered all this distance. We go here, you know, it's less. You know, like from here to here, it's a big jump. It's like a third of our animation, but it barely changes. And so that fast in, slow out happens naturally. For this particular effect, great. But for other effects, we might want that. It can actually trip you up a lot when you're using scaling and offsetting. Unfortunately. It's just the nature of it. It's because they happen at different rates like that. Anyway, so it's looking okay. Let's go ahead and do the fade out. That'll give it a lot, because this looks a little weak at the end. But we'll go ahead and do a fade out, and it's going to help a lot. We're just going to use our intensity. We're not going to deal with colors. Again, a lot of, you know, the shader's available for y'all. A lot of the stuff in the shader. Intensity is great for a lot of, I think it's just one of the most important things. It just multiplies the colors. But it does so much. It just lets you, and we've talked about this before, but it lets you not have to animate colors. Animating colors can be just really annoying. It's important, you know, as an artist, I love doing it, but it's one of those things that starts to encroach in that part where I just, like, get tight in my chest, and I'm just really sick of working all these colors, and just want to have 2 different colors. because we have a gradient map here. I didn't even set up the colors or anything. But basically, you know, again, if you're new, white to black, the shader we use takes those colors and creates a gradient map just like in Unity. So wherever there's white, it's going to do this color. Wherever there's black, it's going to do this color. And it's going to blend between them with a little bit of an offset here. You know, it's kind of like the rate of which it's basically just like the scale. It's not exactly like, it's real similar to like the scale setting, like in the gradient map in here, right here. Kind of just sort of pushes and pulls it. Anyway. I ramped it up a little bit at the start here. And then we want it to fade out a little bit here, but we don't want to lose it. You know, we want to create that motion, you know, that sense of a fade out. But then actually fade out all the way here. Down to 0. So, not totally loving that. So maybe I actually want to do this. Fade it out sooner. So already that's pretty hot. It looks really mechanical because it is. It's just this texture sort of repeated. Maybe not the motion, but just sort of the shape of it. So if that's not working for you, maybe this effect isn't for you. You know, I kind of hated it at first myself. I did it just because I thought it was pretty easy. You know, I was just working on a bunch of dust effects. I spent like a week or so just creating a bunch of different like swirls and things just to give character to just all the motion in the game. And so I did this one, you know, the one that we're making, and it looked kind of, I was like, ugh. But like, you know, I had forgotten about it, which happens a lot in game design. And you're like, that actually looks really good, like in motion, you know, like sometimes you can just get away with it. And you should get away with it when you can, because game design is hard and it's so much work. It's years of work. One thing it does lack, it sort of lacks that cloud quality here at the end. You probably just want to go in real low opacity, go 5, and just cut in a bit. And we're going to want to check back and forth a lot. Because already that just looks like I punched holes in it, so that looks gross. It's just something you'll have to just work a bit. You know, that's just another thing that you may notice. Like I mentioned, you know, you get the shape you want, and then you look at things that are wrong with it and just try and refine it from there. So the next thing I did for that particular effect is to just create another one. Control D and just flatten it out. Maybe scale it out. So let's see, are these gonna... I didn't mean to do that. It recorded something I didn't want. Hope those birds don't fight me. I have to move them. You can look at the effect. Don't come at me. See, that looks pretty sweet, dude. It's like, oh my gosh. And we can rotate it a bit. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's real simple. But just like all of a sudden, we just double that up. You can see some like sort of little particles there that we might want to clean up. But my dudes, like, I really like that. There's even a quality to it that I think is better than the one I made. Like this one, you know, they have different qualities. Like this one, the one I made lasts a bit longer. But this one like gets out of the way. So maybe, you know, that's gonna suit your needs. Like it really pops in and then takes off. Like, and then from the side, you know, it has so much different character from the side. And that's what we want. Like we want that variety. And it still looks like dust, but it has style. Like it, oh, that looks good. I mean, that's why, like, it's just better than particles in my opinion. It's so simple, and then all of a sudden, we just make a little change. Looks cool. What I would like to do, those were right on top of each other, so let's offset this one like this. Sometimes this looks great, sometimes it actually looks bad, so we're gonna have to just find out. there's a way to play animations at the same time in Unity, but during editor time, but I find it just easier just to like do runtime. So right there, it's not quite. It's like it's too much, in my opinion. You may want it where those, my idea was that they would sort of fill the gaps of each other, but I kind of don't like it. I'm going to undo it and maybe just offset it just a tiny bit. If you like, you could have a separate shader here, separate material with a different texture. Give it a lot of sort of variety. Let's look at that again. I'm sorry, it turned out really good. Oh, this dumb bird, go away. From here, you just refine it. Maybe this is good enough, This is a real simple animation. Really, at the end, with them doubled up, it actually looks a lot better. I don't notice that as much. But honestly, that's the effect. We'll go ahead and clean this up. There's some little artifacts hanging out around. I did want to mention one thing, just masks. So we'll go ahead and duplicate this whole thing. Actually, I want to pull the quote-unquote original back here. Not quote-unquote, like actual original. I don't know why I said that. So what we want to do is create a new material. Go ahead and drag those into it. I'm going to change the color a little bit. I didn't go through the colors. I'm sorry. So you can just do gray and then dark gray. And that actually looks cool. Like maybe you like that. Generally, you want a little bit of hue in there. Dust is brown a lot of times, but dust is gray too. So it's whatever you like. And you can get a little nuts. Maybe you want it like more red. And so you just pull the hue in a little bit. You can actually make it like full like additive blend. You may like that. This is like an actual sort of physical material rather than like an energy sort of situation. So we want the opacity up so it's not doing off because this is pre-multiplied blending, so you can blend between additive and the other one, just alpha blend. You could do that. That's actually pretty hotter than I thought. I just really like warm highlights, so I might just cheat a little. I was trying to not repeat myself, but just pull that up a little bit. We'll take a look at that. And then we'll do some masking, just another way that you can create an effect. See, that looks hot. So that looks a little weak. This bird, go away. I like the brown a little bit more. But here it looks pretty cool. I don't know. It's hard to decide. Maybe I'll get really extreme and do both. Like that. So basically, you just start with gray, warm it up a little bit for your highlight, and then of course always do a hue shift. We were around in here with ours, so bring it down here. Plus it just looks more brown. If you want a more saturated look, you can do this, just like brown dust. Like, let's go. This is getting a little more cartoony, but you may like that. Like, that looks cool. Like in another game, even in this game. Oh my god, it was such bad timing on the dodge. Or the block. And you can kind of start to see maybe the repetitive nature of it, which you might not want. One way to solve that is that this is still a pretty symmetrical effect. We can try and make it a little more asymmetrical. That'll help a little. But that's just because we're just tiling it. It's just duplicated 5 times. That's just the nature of this particular effect. So if that doesn't work for you, then it's just not going to work for you. Where were we? Oh yeah, the mask. So I swear I have. I feel like I make this type of mask every time I do a video, and then like, or make a new effect at least, and then I can never find it in my project. So what we're gonna do is, like, instead of fading it out, let's actually do like a whole new animation. We should. I'm gonna go ahead and hide this one. So we just have our one. Tutorial poof 2 mask, and stop recording. So what do masks do? Well, they mask stuff out. So I'm trying to think of an effect that has one that we've done maybe in the videos before, but I can't think of one. I got stuck. Where am I looking? Let's see. I just have to make another one. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but I just feel a little silly. And I swear I just call them mask or gradient, and yet I can never find them. Edge is that one. Yeah, a little bit. You can see there how it's masked off like that. This actually might be the one we want, because if we tile it, we can actually extend it. Okay, yeah, there it is. Good. I don't know why I didn't see that before. So instead of what we did before, and you can do them, you know, both if you like. Try and get a little bit bigger. It's scaling is smaller, but it's actually getting bigger. You know what I mean? Just like when we add more, it does the opposite. And so this might not look great on this particular effect, but I hope that you'll understand that it can actually look really phenomenal. I think on the slash, the blazing cross slash is like the name of the video, because it was another way to explain it. Really, it's like real edgelordy sounding, but anyway, it can look really good. So let's go ahead and just animate that. Like, let's start here, real similar, at 30. Just go all the way off. And so instead of doing the scale, we're actually doing the offset. We're just sliding that whole image without scaling it. And we might cheat a little bit and scale it a little bit. It'll give it a little more character. And then fade it all the way out. So already, you know, it's sort of a different look. You may want like a bigger mesh. And maybe we'll do that, because that can look really cool. And then you'll just sort of have to adjust your mask. You can actually animate how the mask is masking as well. Should I bring it down like a bunch? Like that. It's more like that. You know what I mean? And you'll see this a lot. And actually, like, that looks pretty cool. The pop-in isn't great. You know, our first few frames are a little shitty. But it's, as it fades out, like, that's, I mean, I think that looks badass already. Like, you know, it's a real similar effect, but it's a little bit different. And this stuff's real basic, but like, you'll see this in really, really good looking games. No one I can really speak of isn't that popular, or maybe not that popular, but maybe it wasn't received very well. It's like the newest Star Ocean. They use it a lot, but they're so fast. Like, I think that looks hot. Let's go ahead and just double it up again. See how that looks. I may not need it for this effect. And we'll actually get a little crazy. We'll try some new stuff with them. Now let's actually scale this one up a lot. Take a look at that. So we got that one going, our old one, which is looking pretty cool. So you can see this one. See, that looks sick. I would actually like... Bird, go away! You suck, dude. I'd actually like the scaling to go out even more. tiling. Did I really tile it that way? I meant to tile it the other way. I'm like confusing myself. What happened? I don't know what I did. Oh shit. I didn't change it like to the... I don't know what I did. I forgot to change this over. And yet, I thought we were editing on the other one. I am so confused. Anyway, this happens in game design a lot. You all know it. Hopefully you'll see that... What happened? Like, we were just doing this. What happened? Like, I'm seriously mystified, because wasn't it doing it like how we liked initially? It was like going up, and it was like, it was getting longer, not shorter. Like that. Like, well, now I can't even see it. I don't know what I did. Anyway, that sucks. Because I would like to... Did I not change the material? I don't know what I did. Anyway, I believe our lessons have been taught and learned today. Let's go ahead. Let's actually clean it up. Let's clean it up. Let's do it right. I thought about just bailing. See ya. What happened here is that I had the wrong material. No, I did. I was on the right one. Dudes, I really don't know what happened. So quiet. Because we were working with this one. I do not know what happened. Maybe it's just like in the animator? That's what happened. Okay. Nothing too crazy happened. Although I did all that undoing, so I don't know, like... Anyway, we had already had this controller made. And the default is like our original animation. Instead of our new one that we made. So when I hit play, but it seems like it brought it back. What's confusing me is that it went back to the, our original one we made in editing mode. Because we were working, and then it like brought up the old animation for some reason. Like in here. Anyway, I don't know, dudes. Because this should be a new controller. That's why I'm like so confused. Anyway. We'll just do that. Set as layer default. I thought something way crazier happened. It's very clear to me now, so crisis averted. Not much of a crisis, but... See, but now it's like using that one. It was supposed to have a different controller. I don't get it. Maybe not. But maybe. I don't know what happened. Because when I made the new one, I deleted the animator, I thought. Anyway. I think that looks cool. These are supposed to be different. I don't know what's happening, but... Apparently, what's happening is that they're using the same controller. I don't know why they are, though. Like I mentioned before, that initial frame is a little... not maybe very exciting. The fade-out's badass. It seems a little maybe rudimentary, but these effects can look so good, like, during gameplay. So, I mean, that does it for the video. Thank you all. Again... I have a lot of clarity on where I'm going with the game, finally. So I hope to do videos. I don't want to promise a schedule yet, but I do want a consistent schedule for videos. I was doing weekly when I first started, and it was just not fun. So I started doing monthly. I mentioned that you know, during the holidays, I was just really busy. My roommate was moving out, and my sister surprised us. She was visiting. She lives in Albania right now. And she surprised us with a visit, which was great. And so we were just really busy. And I knew it was going to take a long time. I was really hoping to get one by January. Anyway, I also have more clarity. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you know, my new mission is to I don't have to focus on concepts, you know. Let's just do specific effects. Please let me know if there's an effect you want. I know there are some people waiting with bated breath. I'm sorry for just a tutorial on how to do a character action game, and for the video that I hope to do, character action is going to mean like either like Devil May Cry or like, you know, like Mario, like a 3D Mario. Just to get started with that. I think a lot, even like people like just the other day, you know, I was helping someone with Twitter, where they're doing some stuff that, you know, they needed help with, and I was like, yeah, I guess that isn't so obvious. You know, I just have been doing it a long time, and have a lot of experience with fighting games and character action games, so it was just a little more obvious to me, I suppose. But I'm happy to help. Anyway, what I was getting at is that I hope to get to those tutorials as well. If there's a specific effect, a specific concept, if you just want some one-on-one help, I love helping. I help people. What we do is like get on Skype and just go through it. Go through your game, if it's just art or game design, whatever, what have you. You know, I am very busy, but I also love helping. You know, it can, you know, I'm working on my game, trying not to overwork. I get burnt out at the end of the day or whatnot. I don't mind, even though I'm still doing like arty type stuff, like teaching is a little bit different. I feel like it is a different kind of energy. So I generally don't get burnt out, so it won't be a hassle. I feel like some people feel like they're a hassle, but don't. Thank you all so much. I think these effects turned out badass. Again, they might seem really basic, but if you really look at like Namco Bandai, Platinum Games, maybe not Grand Blue Fantasy. Have y'all seen that shit? It looks so good. And also my two favorite companies are making a Grand Blue Fantasy game. What? Not together, separate. We're getting a fighting game and a character action game. Sometimes I can't believe how lucky we are. I know that's like super first world, like blessed, but what the... It's just really cool. Anyway, basic effects can look badass. You know, you can't necessarily get this look with styling. You know, we get that curvature there. And it's so fast. You know, it was a little bit slower because I was teaching it here. But, you know, as you try these different techniques, you're going to get an idea for an effect. And you're like, oh, I could just do this. And maybe that's a little simple. But like I mentioned, sometimes when you implement something, you start playtesting it, and all of a sudden you forget that you use this like really, really basic method, but it looks nice enough, you know? You know, of course, you could do distortion map, you could have particles with it, and, you know, depending on the effect, if it's important, maybe you do, but character action games are fast. You know, maybe this is just someone like jumping off the ground or like powering up. You know, you want that swift, like just like a flash of wind. Anyway, again, hit me up at twitter.com. Or excuse me, Twitter at Culture Attack. I have changed my name on there, so now it's just Culture Attack, no space. TylerDoke42.com at Gmail. Those are where I spend most of my time. Hit me up if you have questions. Final comments? Nope. All right, thank you all so much for watching. The mesh, the shaders, the textures will be available on the website once I upload this, and the link will be in that video. Seriously, any effect, you want to know how to do it, or don't know how to do it. Maybe there's one you see in a game you like. How do you do that? Ask me. We will try and figure it out if I don't know. See an effect that you need in your game. How could I do that? You know, just let me know. I'm not saying I'm like a guru, but I am willing to help. And, you know, I have a fair amount of experience in it. Been making games for a while now. But thank you all so much. I'll catch you next time.